Respected Chairman, Dr. Anil Garg, and respected other eminent speakers, Dr. M.K. Sinha, and one of the eminent speaker, Magiraj, and one of the persons just left, Sarbaji. Respected dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, and listeners, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to one and all. So this is the time I'm given to me, almost nearing lunch time. So I will not take much time to skip our lunch. So I will like to share my experience in the field of water resource management and greening rural development. The topic is assigned by fitting to the theme of the technical session, water, purity and rural development. So considering all these factors, I titled my presentation as Water Resource Management and Greening Rural Development in India. Before starting my presentation, I like to thank Professor Anil Garg for giving me opportunity again and again to share my experience in the World Water Summit. This is my third or fourth talk in the World Water Summit. Thank you once again, sir. I will start my presentation. So the presentation was designed in three ways. One is water resource availability in India, and water purity, then the rural development. So I will present some figures in front of you. Almost it is available in the world literature that if I see the rainfall is received 4,000 billion cubic meter, 100%, how it is bifurcated. The water potential is 1869, almost 47% is constituted. The utilizable water resources is 111.23 billion cubic meter, out of which 690 for surface water, 433 for groundwater. But the current utilization is 7 ton. Out of 7 ton, 450 surface water and 260 groundwater. By considering the future demand, how we can fill the gap? So one of my early speaker given the three word: reduce, recycle, reuse. So that concept can be adopted to fill the gaps by considering the future demand. It is based on time related variability, and per capita availability will vary from 2010 to 2050 in the upcoming years, and the increasing demand. Next slide. These are the spatial temporal variation of rainfall. If you are seeing the average, almost 890 all over India. But in Meghalaya, we received 11,000 millimeter in a year, and the Western Rajasthan almost 100 mm. If you are seeing the precipitation things from June to September, almost 75% of the annual thing received by 3,000 billion cubic meter. It will vary over the period of the monsoon period. Next slide, please. See the water availability per capita in national average. If you are seeing the year in 1951, almost 5,017, but reduced to 1140 in the upcoming year 2050. You see how much water scarcity we are going to face it. But we compare the world average per capita water availability, if you are seeing 42,370 meter cube to 550 in 24. In the span of 200 years, how much water reduction was there. So everyone have to look into the matter very seriously, that in the water availability in the period of 2050, it is drastically come to 177 to 1150. So you have to follow the policy, reduce, reuse, recycle. Next slide, please. See how the increase in demands of water vary the various purposes. If you are seeing over the period of year, if you are seeing the energy and the drinking water and the irrigation, these are the available sources. See, the food community coming around 270 million ton to 450. So that much requirement is there in the span of almost 30-40 years. Next slide. Then what are the irrigation potential development is there? If you are seeing the land use, total land resources 328.73 million hectare, but out of which forest area 70% is covered, about 21% is covered, 17 million hectare. Then if you are coming to the cultivable waste, 20.6. So these are the components I would take to consider by considering the irrigation potential development aspects, but the net area under irrigation is 66.1 million hectare. So what is the objective of the development of the irrigated potential? You have to fill the gap between IPC and IPV. It means irrigated potential created and irrigated potential utilized. The low water use efficiency, one of the speaker earlier told, the average water for paddy in India is 980 mm, but food and agriculture estimated crop requirement is 400 to 700 mm in the upcoming years. Next slide. So when you are comparing with China, if you are seeing all the aspects, if you are taking the China, one of the largest population in the world, see we are the second one. So we are comparing the basic figures with the China figures, how far we are behind that when comparing to China. So these are some statistics figures. So the agricultural water consumption in India and China, how we are going to cover up in the upcoming years that. You see almost 385 billion cubic meters required for the rice, but in the coming to India we need 554 billion cubic meters. So even the China of the world largest population still have the sufficient water to cultivate the things. But we are the second largest population, still we have the water scarcity is there when comparing to China. So you have to look further how we can develop the IPC and irrigated potential utilization and cultivate, how we can minimize the gap. Next slide. So these are water consumption with this food production. If you are seeing the percentage of zone area, so China is having 71% when compared to India 49% only. But when coming to food grain production, almost China is very far away. Behind. It is 546.48 metric tons, but in India 277 only that. So these are the figures how far we are behind when comparing to China. Why we are taking the China? China is the largest population, repeatedly and telling again and again, but have the enough sources to cultivate more crops and have the enough water to the utilization. But we have some still shortage of water, but when comparing to China. Next slide. The paddy taken as example, the water hustler, if you are taking the cross irrigated area almost 26.5%, when coming to irrigated agriculture 69%, but coming to water consumption it is comparatively higher than in the China that. Next slide. The paddy productivity, because the paddy is one of the main crops in India, because the rice waters are more. But you see in comparing to China, see how much 1 kg of rice only 500 liter only. But coming to India, we need 2800 liters are required to cultivate it. So you see the requirement of water, how can be efficiently used in over a time period that. Next slide. So how we can fill the gaps between the irrigated potential cultivation and utilization that. So there are some initiatives taken by the various states in the agriculture water management. It can be classified under 6 categories. One is command area development and water management and micro irrigation, canal automation, participatory irrigation management, watershed development initiatives, water conservation. Next slide. Now, if you come into the agricultural water management, one of the prominent areas is use of underground pipeline. Just now that earlier speaker talked about how the pipeline can be introduced to increase the efficiency of the water use. Then the land acquisition is not required for this particular aspects. It is reduced evaporation losses, and the land acquisition of 12.8 thousand hectares is awarded. Financially, the amount of 2,366 crore can be saved. When shifting to solar panel, so we can, the pilot project was taken for Narmada Canal, Gujarat, probably one of my earlier director and is chairperson of the Narmada Control Authority also, Ankit Sinha sir. So you might agree with this figure that it 1 megawatt is 7 canal was there, and later for 9.5 kilometer Varoda beach canal we need 35 megawatts, and potential is increased by 19,000 kilometer in the panel of 22,000 megawatt based panels. Next slide. How the command area development can be implemented in the watershed management? It is one of the scheme called Pradhan Mantri Kishan Shikshan Yojana scheme. It is implemented in the Ganga Canal field channel Rajasthan, and lined field canals, underground pipelines, mandatory micro irrigation 10% of the area, and introduced the participatory irrigation management, and the formation of water use association was created under the PI program, and 4.35 mega hectare taken up, on 1.23 mega hectare were covered. The cost was almost 18,669.1 crores. Expenditure is almost 3,000. It was an unrevised figure. It was some 5 years earlier figure what available from the taken from the available the reports. But under participatory irrigation management, they developed 7,735 water resources was created and formed under the participatory irrigation management scheme in the Rajasthan. Next slide. One of the other activity in the micro irrigation, it means the per drop more water. That was the concept. Per single drop of water, we have to create more crops. That is micro irrigation. The irrigated estimated potential is 69.5 million hectare, approximately 30 million hectare covered so far. And the government of Andhra Pradesh is successful launched this scheme and the micro irrigation project 2003. And it was subsequently implemented by the Gujarat Green Revolution project by Green Revolution Company in May 2005. Next slide. Now the farmers are sprinkler irrigation, and compared to the beyond the micro irrigation, we need more crop for single drop of water, but instead of the micro irrigation, go for the sprinkler irrigation. If at the spatially the water will be distributed with the minimum investment and the maximum returns. So the farmers are looking for the sprinkler irrigation, that is for Narmada Canal project implemented in Rajasthan. These are the development activities over the period of year. From past 10 to 15 years it was development took place. Next slide. Then another one of the Jal Shakti Shivar Abhiyan, Maharashtra. So what is the objective of the thing is there? The arrest maximum runoff in the village, created decentralized water bodies. So one of the concept is adopted decentralized water bodies and construct new structure for water conservation. And the third objective is rejuvenation of the water storage capacity of the existing tanks. So these are the three objects created under the Jal Shakti Shivar Abhiyan implemented in Maharashtra. And what are the outcome of the study? It is increased in water storage capacity, and groundwater level is 1.5 to 2 meter higher. The irrigation benefit to 3.4 million hectare, and increase in cropping intensity. Almost total 60 million cubic meters evacuated. It is also increase in the agriculture productivity. Next slide. Then another one of the scheme taken by the Telangana Mission Kakatiya. So it is also the initiatives taken by the states in the agricultural watershed management. So what are the objectives? That is a desiltation, restoration of feeder canals, resection of irrigation canals, repairing of bunds, weirs, cross masonry and cross drainage structure. These are the main components of the project. Next slide. Then one of the another state is taken by Madhya Pradesh. They took the efforts to bridge the gap between the IPC and the ICU, and they focus on the maintenance and the water department farmer collaboration and the management information system, pressurized pipe distribution system coupled with the sprinkler and drip irrigation in these new projects wherever feasible. I am not telling about the outcome of the project is already available in the public domain. I just focus how the scheme was taken by the particular state and what are the objective of the state, what are the outcome of the study. That the figures are available in the report. Next slide. In another one of the focus taken by the pilot project on 4 water concept, it is implemented by Mukhyamantri Jal Jawabhiyan Rajasthan. Again they are taken by the Rajasthan that. And what is the objective of the scheme? You have to think renovation of the non-functional rainwater harvesting. That was the main concept of the project. And what are the outcome of the project? It is a people mission encompassing local residents servicemen, government officials. Likewise, the large number that come together and is carrying out for the construction works. Next slide. Now the fourth one is the participatory irrigation management. Almost it is implemented almost all the states. But even the implemented, the first one study was taken by the Sri Baburao Anna. I invite these people who was coming from outside Pune, just drop a visit to Pune and visit this place. It's wonderfully created. How the participatory irrigation management can be done with the local support is not having any funded schemes. It is pure and pure in the local bodies and the available funds with the local contribution only that. So that's what is called the participatory irrigation management with the support of the local people and the local funding. So Anna with the 16 farmers dug 8 wells over the period of 2 years to irrigate 700 to 800 acres at a huge amount. And what are the outcome of the project? It is a plentiful amounts of water. Farmers can grow crops in all months of a year. It is seasonal, non-seasonal crops can be cultivated throughout the year. That of the main success of the project. And the milk production increased 4 times. Why? When the agriculture is there, the cattle will be there. For feeding, the enough grass will be there. Ultimately, the milk production will be higher. So it was increased by more than 4 times. And then the economic growth in the activities also because of the participatory irrigation management project by the local contributors. Now the canal automation. So this is one of the systems set up by the canal automation where CWPRS conducted a area number of studies for canal automation for various states, but I am not in the particular domain. One of my instrumentation divisions is working on this particular project, but this is the model setup when we are going for the canal automation for any watershed management irrigation project. The model will be set up like that only. This is as per the controlling room. By sitting in our organization, we can able to give the figure to operate the things for the better effectiveness. Next slide. Then is another, the sixth one is of the initiatives in watershed management is watershed conservation and management program. So it was implemented in the Hiware Bazaar, Ahmednagar, Maharashtra. So it is by the local Sarpanch leader because one is from the government scheme, another one is the local supporters, one is by the local municipal level, that is village leader called Sarpanch. With available, because the village responsibility don't have the funds, they have to collect from the available sources with the support of local people. So they, with this help of that, the local Sarpanch, one of the person, Pataro Babar is focused on the watershed conservation and create the management development program and for the rainwater harvesting and the watershed conservation in the particular area. Next slide. Now shifting to the second phase of my presentation. The first one is the water resources availability in India. Now the water peace and security. The water issues are immediate and urgent, and the water and security are linked both directly via food, energy, health, environment. It is all interrelated to each other. If one thing is failed and the entire system will be collapsed, so the water is security is linked both directly via food, energy, and health, environment. And the policies and action to be tackled climate change, economic crisis, and other development issues must include water explicitly. There are many tools and examples that can help, but we don't know how can really hurt us. That is the $1,000,000 question. The water is impacted by the environmental security policies because they have the Environmental Act, it was implemented that, and a lot of food policies involved, energy policies, democracies, and climate change adoption. That was one of the heated issue in the present circumstance, and land use policy because the Land Use Act is covered in many places, and the international trade and subsidies and incentives and other factors. How the climate change is playing major role. It is having the affect the economic and social environmental condition. When the climate changes any changes in the climate environment, so these all are the interconnected each other, economic and social environmental conditions. It will also change in the water availability will have the economy wide impacts. So it will also change the economic aspect also that. Now every time talk about the water have the impact in many activities, how it is important in the food and products. Trade of virtual water accounts for 15% of all water use globally. Just will take few minutes only. Then used properly in decision can provide a better resource allocation, and one of the another one need to security concern to be considered. Will consider the water is embedded in the food and products. Next slide. Now coming to the third phase of my presentation, greening rural development in India. So in the under the UNDP, United Nations Development Program, and how the greening rural development in India, it is launched by Ministry of Rural Development. What is the objectives? Contribute to inclusive global growth and improve environmental sustainability, and help to make public expenditure more effective, and help to make communities more resilient to natural disasters. Next one. So how the greening rural development contribute to inclusive global thing, improving agriculture productivity, increasing private investment, increasing incomes and increasing returns of the investment, and reducing the economic cost. How it can be improved the environmental sustainability? It is conserving water quality, improving vegetable cover, and reducing the soil erosion and increasing soil carbon. Next slide. Again, the greening rural development will help to make communities more resilient to natural disasters by reducing the impact of the drought, impact of the floods, reducing the disease, and conserving the biodiversity and protecting substance resources. Next slide. How it will make the public expenditure more effective over the medium term, making assets and reducing outlays, reducing the need to reinvest, reducing expenditure, and reducing the need of subsidies for the various aspects. Next slide. Next. Running short of time. So another the greening rural development, one of the scheme is launched in Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Development Guarantee Program. It is launched by 2015. So what it indicates that what are the main components of the program is deliver local environmental benefits, including improved and soil fertility, and enhance the resilience of natural production system, and deliver global environmental benefits, including conserving biodiversity, etc. Next. Then can be developed the preparing, strengthening, and developing for a Gram Panchayat to reach the threshold level for green index activity. Next slide. So another the greening rural development, Ministry of Rural Development can launch another scheme. It is Natural Rural Livelihood Mission to enhance the livelihood of the common public. Next slide. Next. See, another one is the integrated wasteland development program. It is launched by Ministry of Rural Development. What are the objective of the program is increase resource conservation, expand the environmentally sustainable using pattern, and strengthen the resilience of the communities to natural disasters. It is one of the example Wayanad. The IW can be greened by the incorporating environmentally sustainable resources, using funds of production, establish indicators and targets of soil health, and formalizing unfruitful rights of legal entitlements. So ultimately what we want to say that it is prevent solid and liquid waste from the entering the environment in the raw form. Another one is segregate grey water from stormwater runoff and disposal. Next. Next slide. Next. Yeah. So under this activity, by combining all those things, the Ministry of Water Resources come out from the combine. The water conservation combine is the Honorable Prime Minister of India wrote letter to Sarpanch. It is because the Sarpanch, the local leaders, they can able to develop the watershed management program. So they appealed to the nation for water conservation and Man Ki Bharat. It was started June 9, 2029. Then he started the another water conservation campaign, Jal Shakti Abhiyan. We started that. It was first phase we covered 250 districts and second phase covered 195. Last slides. Previous one. The third one, that the central district officials are participating in the water conservation, rainwater harvesting, renovated water bodies, reuse and reuse structures, watershed development, intensity afforestation. Next slide. So ultimately the summary of the presentation is water has remained too low in the list of potential priority for too long. And neglecting the need of investment can cause development to lack people to suffer, environment to deteriorate. As climate change evolves, governments will take the land to operate under condition of greater risk and uncertainty. And sharing information is the key factor for better sharing of resources and benefits. More investment in data is essential, as well as in scenario tools that form decision making for the better effectiveness. Next slide. Thank you. Once and all.